Okay, looks like we've got our live stream running pretty good. And I'm Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel and the Galilee on April 1st. 26 is the year, and it's about 8:22 in the morning here in the Holy Land. That ain't so holy. And we're at 60 degrees, high is 73. That'll be pleasant. And we got a lot of cloudy all day. I'm not seeing rain. Let's see. In the evening, I'm seeing rain all through the night, actually. And then tomorrow, more cloudy. Uh, so we're under that horrible weather again, which the rain is probably needed, but the weather's still horrible. Rain today, well, it'll probably just be tonight, and then tomorrow, 95% chance of rain. So that's going to mean rain, high of 70. And then Friday, 70% chance, high of 71. Then it's the same old. We get two days of sunshine, and then we go back into the rain, but not a really high percentage of rain on Monday, so it may not happen. 45% now, it may go away. And then sunshine. So, while I hate the rain and the weather is terrible, I'm a real fan of rain, rain, go away, come again another day. We don't really have April showers bring May flowers in Israel. No, we got March showers bring April flowers. It's earlier here. So, God willing, and we got enough water for the next Exodus, it's over. That the rain would be over. The land has had an extreme saturation of water in the Galilee. It's got, I'm pretty sure, rather full again. All right. We're going to cover today. Famine is brewing, and it looks like it's on the way. And some places are already suffering. The gasoline shortage is getting more and more critical in some places. LNG shortage also. The war is going on. Trump is now saying, "Oh, we'll be finished with the war in 2 or 3 weeks." Let me get my violin out. At the same time he says that, we're being told for maybe the 18th time that the George Bush aircraft carrier is coming to the Middle East. Well, they're giving us specifics at this point. It left Norfolk on Tuesday yesterday. So it perhaps for the first time, it appears that it's actually coming to the Middle East. The Abraham, what is it? The Abraham Lincoln. I got it written down. There's the Ford and the Abraham Lincoln. I think the Ford went for repairs in Greece or Cyprus, Greece, I think. And the other one, I think the Lincoln's running around in the Indian Ocean. So why is Trump deploying the George Bush yesterday, which is at least 10 days, maybe 12 or 14, if he intends to end the war? Nah, it makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. They started using bunker buster bombs again yesterday on some missile launching facility. So what Trump might be doing is, see, Trump can't, in my opinion, he can't leave the area to stop the fighting until the missile cities are no longer operational. Okay? Now, I don't know how um, I'm not sure how real this is. but I don't think he can because of the allies, unless he wants to see the Arab countries get wiped out, which he might, because then he's got way more control over oil. And they give him a lot of grief, but it's a possibility with him. I mean, it's a possibility, but I wouldn't get too secure in that. Um, Wait, I gotta check this message. It's not coming in correct. I don't know what's up. Wait. Oh, that's the real message. Okay. Oh, you piece of junk. Come on, you jerky thing. Ugh. I actually enjoyed life more before we had high tech. Uh, okay, I think we'll finish with that. All right. So, how can Trump bring an aircraft carrier over here, starting the deployment yesterday, and then it's going to get here just in time for him to leave? Then the other question is, why is the aircraft carrier Ford still being repaired over here in the Mediterranean? You know, they could have patched it up a little bit and then sent it back to America for a good overhaul. They didn't seem to do that. So, what's up with this? Well, what's up with this is Trump's just lying again to confuse everybody. That's what he's doing. He's just giving everybody uh, he's throwing curveballs. Nobody knows what he's doing. It's a interesting way to run a war, but it involves lying all the time. So that's his true colors. And then there's people that are going to sit around and tell you that, oh, this Trump is a Christian. And, oh, yeah, yeah. How many Christians you know that like to tell lies constantly? I mean, daily. There's a lot of people that do it that say they're Christians, like Trump, but don't be duped into that. So we're still not seeing a reduction from Hezbollah in the attacks. We're getting a lot of attacks. And Iran, too. The Houthis have calmed down. They're probably waiting for more orders from Iran, or they don't know what to do, or a combination. Um, Trump is still telling us he's negotiating. Both sides are attacking full steam. And what negotiations? Japan was negotiating with America before Pearl Harbor. They were inside America negotiating. Then came Pearl Harbor, and what did the Americans do? They threw the Japanese negotiators out. They had diplomatic immunity. They don't negotiate after attacks. I don't know what Pakistan's going to attempt to do to Afghanistan, but they made their intentions clear that they intend to go after Afghanistan again. They were very clear that there is no more ceasefire, and they're going to continue pushing war. We're very clear that there is no more ceasefire, and they're going to continue pushing war. So we don't have any questions. I have my moderators. Thank you. So it looks like we had a few derelicts putting nasty posts up because that's what they like to do. Their lives are so empty. Okay. These are children that have horrible parents, and that's why they grow up and they're this way. They really come from not broken homes, devastated homes. They got such a high hate level, they just run around doing stuff like this because they just have such a hatred, They hate their life, they hate their parents, they hate themselves. That's why they do things like this. They're not all the same. They got different levels and degrees of hate, but they got a lot of hate or they wouldn't do this. I'm getting my post up. It'll be up in a second, I think. Just checking typos. That's our local siren. I'm pretty sure you hear that. Wait and see what happens. The dogs are inside. We might hear the iron domes exploding, or the siren may just stop. Let's see. It's not our area. A missile or a drone was probably not a drone. A missile was passing the area, so they blow the siren. We haven't heard the takedowns yet. I'm now learning that we hear the takedowns up in Haifa. Not up in Haifa, over towards the Mediterranean in Haifa, which is 45-minute car ride on the highway, so it's pretty far. I know we hear missiles in Syria all the time. Well, we used to hear them all the time. No explosions. I don't hear any sirens from the neighboring communities. We'll see. Years of living like this now. It's not quite 3 years, but it's 2.5 plus, I think. It's really, wears you out, Everything's in disruption. Now, on top of this, to add to the disruption, the rabbis are having their incorrect Passover. They're starting it tonight. Now, they don't do a Passover, a Pesach, and then 7 days of unleavened. They don't do that. They do a 7 days of unleavened in Israel. They've changed it. I mean, and then if you're not in Israel, they do 8 days. They observe the first day of Passover, which starts tonight as a holiday. So tomorrow is a national holiday in Israel. Then the people don't work on Friday typically, and they don't work on Saturday. So the people are going to have off Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They'll have a 3-day holiday. So they'll swarm up to Tiberias. Well, maybe with the war they won't. Up to the Sea of Galilee and go swimming. I think the Sea of Galilee is a swimming hole. I mean, yeah, it's a lake, but when you walk around it, I hate it. You slip on all the sludge and different things you got in there, the growth on the rocks, and there's a lot of rocks at the bottom. I don't appreciate it. I don't enjoy it. I've been in it 5 or 6 times. I don't enjoy it at all. I haven't been in it in decades. It's just not enjoyable to me. I don't care for it. The sand, if you could find sand at the Sea of Galilee and you get 30 feet of sand, you're really doing good. And it's not nice sand, it's coarse, darkish, sand. To me, it's not a swimming place. You go to the Mediterranean, any of the beaches up and down, and now that's nice. That's really nice. This thing, the Galilee, swimming in Galilee is nonsense. I don't care. I thought I heard something explode, but I don't know. Not that many people got to leave Israel for the Galilee. They like that because they could buy they could eat like whatever they want, You can do that in Israel. All you got to do is go to the Arab stores, and a lot of the Russian stores are selling pork, so they're not kosher. So you could go to them too and get your leavened bread. Now, the thing is with the Passover, what the rabbis, of course, don't teach the people is it was timed with the barley harvest, and the barley is what they used to make the bread. The wheat wasn't ready yet. The matzah they have is wheat. It's wrong. Is it sinful? Not really, because it says unleavened. So if you were going to eat unleavened wheat, is that sinful? I can't imagine why it would be. If you're going to run after Moses' law, of course, Bread's no good. It's gone bad. Where they really get ugly with the people is they put them under Moses' law because nobody's going to complete Moses' law. And without a temple, without an altar, without a priesthood, my gosh, you ain't never fulfilling Moses' law. Impossible. In 2,000 years, nobody has ever fulfilled Moses' law. And the people that put themselves under it are deluding themselves, and they're punishing themselves because they're saying, well, we're under Moses' law. we're going to fulfill the law, and you can't fulfill the law. That's why you're under the age of grace. That's why your righteousness comes from Yeshua and what he did when he died. So you can't do Moses' law today. It's a joke. But it's a sad joke because so many people feel that it's real. How can you? You're going to bring your barley to the Kohanim down at the temple, and they're going to take care of it for you. I mean, it's a joke. There's no temple. There's no tabernacle. There's not even an altar. There's no active priesthood. There's nothing. And the rabbis do it on purpose. You think they couldn't put together a temple in 48? They would have had it finished in 49. Well, it would have made things harder on them to drag the people into sin, because now the people would have a real temple and a priesthood assumptively, and they would say, wow, there's offerings and sacrifices. And would God really hold them responsible for that? You see, I don't know if God, I'm not God, but my basic feeling on that would be he would certainly be minimally more merciful towards them if there was a temple and the sacrifices and the priesthood were going forth in the temple. But that's not the reality. Because there is no temple, there is no altar, there is no tabernacle, there is no offerings, there is no active priesthood. It's absurd to try to follow the law. Sheer absurdity. Pure, unadulterated absurdity, yet they do it. Nobody could do it because Moses' law requires minimally an altar and an active priesthood and the sacrifices and offerings, and nobody's doing it. Okay? The rabbis are the pastors. They're cut out of the same satanic cloth. All right. Let me do some praise, being a Bible-believing site, Old and New Testament. We'll do some praise if you want to join in. That's up to you. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 So sometime this evening, there's going to be rabbinical Pesach. The barley spotters are going to call Passover tomorrow night. Some of them will do it, I don't know, all over the place. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them said, well, this year we're going to have an 18th month or a 16th month. You know, they're nuts. I mean, they add months to the year. Where do you get that from in the Bible? Did you ever read anywhere in the scripture where it says they add a month to the year based on the crops? Did anybody ever read that? Did you ever see it anywhere in any scripture in the Old and the New Testament? I have never even seen it in the apocryphal books or the pseudepigraphal books. I haven't seen it anywhere. Never. And they'll do it. Boy, I'd be real scared to do that. I don't know how you could arrive at that myself, especially since we're told in Genesis 1 it's the moon that controls the calendar, not the crops. But anyway, let's get back to the war. One other thing, guys. There's in Moses' law, just in case you need to know this for obvious reasons, In Moses' law, if you're out of Israel, you don't observe Passover, only inside Israel. Okay? Yes, I know the Israelis did it in Egypt the first time, but we do it as a memoriam to the first time. Okay? If you're going to do it. But, you're not under Moses' law anymore. All right, moving forward, if you're under Moses' law, then you're trying to get your salvation by works, which is impossible to do, and you're ignoring the price Yeshua paid for you. Great idea, isn't it? No, it's pretty sick. The reason they have a second Passover a month later is if you're outside of Israel, you observe the Passover in Israel when you get back. Okay? Now, you could get stuck or stranded somewhere due to your work, or you have a reason to go travel for some reason, and it's perfectly okay, and that's why you have a second Passover. You could come back and observe it on the second Passover a month later. No foul, no nothing. But we're not doing Moses' law anymore. So that's the deal. Okay? That's the deal. What was the penalty in Moses' law for adultery? Oh, let's look it up. I'll have AI find the verse. I don't ask AI to interpret prophecy or interpret scriptures. I just tell them to find the scripture. Or I ask it. I might ask it about history. Okay. Where in the Old Testament are the scriptures for the penalty for adultery? Well, I'm not going to get into that because it's really it's in Galatians 5:19-21. So let's just skip that anyway. It's you don't enter the kingdom of heaven. All right. Let's go. And we got, of course, some rather amazing things going on. In the war stuff. And I'll develop why famine could be working. Okay. Let's do that right away because that's important. And that's in, like Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. As a sign of the end times famines. The high risk areas right now are parts of the sub-Sahara in Africa, the Middle East, especially the conflict zones, which is the Middle East, and parts of South Asia. Why? Why? Because they have a heavy reliance on imported foods. Their currencies are weak in a lot of cases. So with the added, look, ships that carry food, any kind of ship, is going to burn a gallon of gas, I don't know, every 15 feet or something like that. A big cruise ship every 5 feet. So maybe 15, 20 feet. Maybe, that's 25 feet. I don't know. It burns a gallon of gas. So it's very fuel sensitive. So when your fuel goes from selling at $60 to 180 or something like that, your food cost is going to be substantial. Now the ship pulls up to the dock in your country. It doesn't float down the street to the supermarket and offload. So you're at the dock. Then you got to use forklifts, which are probably using LNG, liquid natural gas, which has also gone up in price a lot. You're going to take LNG, and it's going to be affected badly. production is down, the Persian Gulf closure, Red Sea closures to come, all that. All right. So you take your forklift and you offload the containers off the ship, and then you put them on the ground, and then you put them on a truck. So now they're on a truck, and the truck brings it to a distribution center, and then there it gets on a forklift, and then it goes to another truck that brings it to your supermarket, and then they're using forklifts in the supermarket, and then they unpack it and put it on the shelf, and you buy it. So your price is gone up on all levels, okay? There's also fertilizer shortage. Russia stopped exporting fertilizer. Other countries are having issues with it. So that is going to cause critical shortages with the farmers and cut down production. So it's not just prices, it's actual access to the food. All right. What you need to watch for to see how this develops is if oil stays high like it is now. Gasoline's a little over $4 a gallon on average in the US now. That's far from critical. You're not going to see critical until like $8 a gallon, maybe 6 or 7, but at $8 it'll get critical. Oil stays higher, spikes higher, and it will. The fertilizer crisis gets worse or doesn't correct itself or get corrected. Major grain export stuff is getting disrupted. It's not just disruption on the shipping out of a country, it's also receiving it. Okay, countries are going to be unable to receive it in the Persian Gulf like now. And if the Red Sea closes more, okay. We got to pay attention to how the weather goes. And then they're also going to start banning exports like Russia did with the fertilizer already. North America, the food is expensive, but we have not been hearing of the shortage. North America is literally Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Mexico is in North America. Some regions are already in the crisis of the food shortages. There's a global risk of this that's rising, but it hasn't gotten there yet. Some of the rich Arab states, what they were doing is flying in a lot of their food. And that doesn't make the food cheap. It makes the food costly. So they were flying stuff in. Their airports are busted up. Flights aren't happening. And they're not flying much of any food in these days, rest assured. Also, it's expensive. So, you went to a Qatar supermarket or Saudi or UAE, and you would see, cherries and blueberries and strawberries and all the raspberry, everything that was out of season is in season someplace in the world usually. So they would have it there and crazy prices. You could get this in Manhattan, New York. I don't know where else, probably in the Southern California area, maybe other places. They've got stores. You can go in there in a blizzard in January and buy, fresh cherries, blueberries, strawberries. Um, no problem. But you're going to pay for a little basket of blueberries or cherries, you might pay $25. But if you're making, $1.5 million a month, you don't care if you're paying $25 or $1.29. You don't care. Now, we're also starting to see what could be, capital C, could be getting us way the heck closer to the siege of Zechariah 12, where they surround Israel. Okay. There's a thing called the Arab League, which is 50 or so of these lunatic countries that want to go chase crazy religious fanaticism. Now, let me tell you what they're saying. Any attempt to implement the death penalty law for prisoners will open the gates of hell upon the region, and this will not pass without a harsh and direct response. They do not want us to impose the death penalty on prisoners or people in the West Bank that have killed Jews for the sake of terrorism. Now, that's murder, right? Let's see what Arab countries, Muslim countries, have a death penalty for murder. Let's take a look and show you the lunacy of these people, how they're lunatics. Everything with them is the whole religion they follow is a death cult. All of them. I mean, it's not isolated. They're all in. Look what they did. 50 something of them. Let's take a look. What Arab or Muslim countries have a death penalty for murder? Saudi Arabia has it. They behead the people. United Arab Emirates has it, but they rarely carry it out. Qatar has it, rarely uses it. Kuwait has it, occasionally uses it. Oman has it, rarely uses it. Yemen has it, used it in some areas. Egypt regularly carries it out, death penalty. Libya, it legal. It's legal, but they use it. It varies from time to time. Sudan, it's legal and sometimes used. Syria is legal and it's used. Iraq actively pursues it. Jordan, it's legal and occasionally uses it. Lebanon, it's legal but not used in practice. Morocco, it's legal but not carried out very often. Algeria, legal but not carried out very often. Tunisia, legal, not carried out. Mauritania, legal, rarely used. Iran, frequently used, of course. Pakistan, they use it on a regular basis. Afghanistan, what are they saying? Legal, depends on regime. Under the Taliban, includes Kisas. I don't know what that is. Apparently, they do it. I guess. It's not clear to me. Bangladesh uses it. Indonesia, legal, rarely uses it. Malaysia, yeah, sometimes they'll use it, not common. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, mostly abolished or have moratoriums on it. Somalia uses it sometimes by the region. Nigeria, it's legal, seldom carried out. Mali, legal, not used. Senegal and Niger and Djibouti, generally abolished, not used. So it's a kind of a mixed bag. I would say probably 2/3 of the Arab countries have it and seldom use it, and the 1/3 actually use it. So who are they to tell us that we can't actually use it? Who the heck are they? Let me tell you the importance here. What happened in October 7th, 2023, when they invaded, when apparently somebody in the military dropped the guard, anyway, invaded, and they took hundreds of people prisoner as hostages and dead bodies as hostages. Okay. They were getting paid $10,000 for every hostage, including the dead bodies. Why? Why? Because the Hamas knew they were going to be in dire straits, so they wanted to use these hostages to trade for the people incarcerated in Israel for terrorism. And Netanyahu, being the schmuck he is, would trade, 3,000 prisoners for 30 hostages. See, why does that piece of garbage go along with saying that, we'll give you, 100 hostages, prisoners for one hostage? Why is he such a moron? It encourages further acts of kidnapping. Now, if you get them and they do a murder and you hang them, because it's executed by hanging, and you hang them, there's nobody to get out of jail. They're not going to bother taking hostages because, well, they still would, but to maybe a lesser extent, because the people in jail are not in jail for murder. The murderers are killed. So the sentences are probably not going to be that long. Now, They can run up on a child of 3 years old and plunge a knife in the child's back, and the child goes in the hospital for 8 or 10 weeks and comes out and lives. And, so I don't know how long of a sentence they give for something like that, probably 25 years. So there might still be some hostage changing. I don't know. It's just going to apply to the West Bank, and it's going to apply to Palestinians. There's a different legal system there than there is in most of Israel. So they're saying that they're going to make us pay a price if we do it, probably if we use the system. Okay. And my understanding is they have every intention of executing some of the prisoners they have in the jail now. And to the Muslims, they figure they're going to get rid of Israel one day soon, and then they'll free them in the jail. So that line of thought keeps more terrorists coming. Oh, I'll have to sit in the jail for a while. I won't sit there for my rest of my life. I mean, this could be the reaction, and I say could, it's a possibility. This might lead to a siege, and a siege would be to stop any and all trade and any and all travel. So nothing gets into Israel, nothing gets out of Israel, unless we're going to use airplanes or unless we're going to use boats. So I don't know what the deal is. We got to wait and watch. There may be no air traffic anymore. Listen, the price of jet fuel has already doubled. And as things get worse, it'll triple and quadruple. And there might be shortages of jet fuel. Let's see where the jet fuel comes from. I don't know. Do you know what country? I don't know. Let's find out. What countries are the big producers of jet airplane fuel? United States is number one. China. So it probably buys oil and then puts it in some sort of refinery to make that. India, again, buys the crude oil and then refines it. Russia, Saudi Arabia does it. South Korea, Japan. So it is apparently, there's quite a few, but they're dependent on the crude oil. So if they're not getting crude oil, like the Persian Gulf is closed, the Red Sea is closed, and who knows what else. There's, I think they call it Straits of Majorca. That's where the Atlantic Ocean goes into the Mediterranean, and there's a pincher point there. I think it's probably 40 miles or something like that. Now, you've got lunatics that have their countries near there, Algiers, Morocco, and the Muslims could shut the straits off over there as well. So you're not getting anything out of the Mediterranean to the rest of the world or in. It's been talked about, but it hasn't been executed. We'll have to see. So if the price of fuel goes up, doubles again, so it's 4 times, it might be people are just going to be afraid to fly. So if you were taking a trip in America for $300, it likely is going to cost you 500 or 600 now. So they start putting planes on the ground. Now, especially when you're having to buy food at much higher prices at the same time. We'll have to watch that. So that could be the end of aircraft. Remember, they're riding horses in Zechariah 12. We'll have to see how it develops. Maybe that was for some other reason, like people didn't understand what you call an airplane, you know. So they called it a souse, which could be a horse, and it could also be a swallow, a flying bird, which an airplane would kind of be in a way. All right. Trump talking to the European countries dealing with the shortage of jet fuel for airplanes following the closure of Hormuz. Buy from the US or go get it yourself. So he's telling them, buy jet fuel from me or go into the Persian Gulf and open it up. That's what he's telling them. Israel is pushing the US to hit the Iranian energy sites, saying it could bring about a regime collapse. I agree. And I think that'll be done. Trump may completely realize he's devastating the country. And it might be after he finishes doing that, he leaves. But I believe feels he's under obligation. Officials in Jerusalem said a target bank focused on energy facilities and critical infrastructure has already been prepared, with any potential strike now dependent on a decision by Trump. See, they're going to knock it all out. Water desalination, all the electricity. That's really it. I mean, they're done when you do that. But I think that they both realize that it would be better to take out their missile cities, but they may, in the final analysis, not be able to do so. And then the Iranians may just embark on a career of demolishing Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, and Oman, plus Saudi Arabia. So let's see if the George Bush aircraft carrier really comes, because we've been seeing for weeks, it's coming. It's a Nimitz class. It departed the naval station or their base at Norfolk on Tuesday with their escort vessels. So the Abraham Lincoln is currently in the Arabian Sea, and the Ford is docked at Croatia for repairs, according to the U.S. government. I believe this comes from the Wall Street Journal. So the Americans used bunker buster bombs last night on attacking an underground IRGC weapons facility in Isfahan, Iran. So that would be, in my opinion, not a factory, a missile city. So this is perhaps suggesting or telling us that Trump is going to go around demolishing these missile cities and then wreck everything and leave. We'll see. We do see 30 countries, heavily European countries, attempting to do something about the closure of the Persian Gulf, but we don't get any details in the media, do we? No. Why? I think what they're going to do is talk to the Iranians, which is stupid, and make agreements with them to get rid of the sanctions, but they can't. Because to get rid of the snapback sanctions, they need the UN Security Council to vote in favor, and Trump can veto it. So they're stuck unless they throw Trump out of the UN, which is maybe a plan B they have. So it's pretty weird. Trump is saying the U.S. isn't going to be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is over. Go get your own oil. So that's an insinuation that Trump is going to be keeping the Iranian oil, and the Europeans want to join in at the end where there's nothing much really left to do. And then they turn around and tell Trump that he's got to divide the spoils of war and they're all going to get a piece of the Iranian oil now. And Trump's saying, no, go get your own oil. This is mine. So the alienation is worse. So these weak people in Europe need to do something about the Persian Gulf guys. They're going to get desperate. And I think the last thing they're going to do is form an army and go in there and attack, because they're very afraid Iran could hit Europe with their missiles. So they're going to try to give in to Iran. And Iran will see weakness. And what Iran wants over and above everything else is sanction relief. So then Iran tells him you can't get the sanctions released from the UN because of Trump. Just go ahead and make believe the sanctions are over because Trump can't do anything without your votes either. So I'll be back in a minute. So we're watching prophecy develop because Trump is alienating Europe now and NATO. Maybe he has good cause, though. He does. Yeah, I would say Trump has good cause, but that still doesn't mean that he's alienating, that he's not alienating Europe from America, because he is. And since Israel's his trusted ally, we go along down with him. So it appears that many nations can be in the siege against Israel, not just our neighbors. France would not let aircraft headed to Israel loaded with military supplies fly over French territory. It's referencing American planes. France has been very unhelpful with respect to the butcher of Iran, who has been successfully eliminated. The USA will remember. Hegseth is saying that Trump's got about 3 years left of his term, just shy, and that's the long term. But Macron's a moron. How does Macron justify it? The Iranians are killing their own people. The latest that we're being told by the Iranian protest, the opposition in Iran, is that they kill the civilian protesters and they use the bodies to say they were killed in bombing raids by Israel and America. That's who Macron is buddy with, or trying to be. France has a very, very high amount of Muslims that came there from Africa. And he's a cowardly leader. and scared to death of uprisings. Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia are considering joint control of the Strait of Hormuz. So, what this is telling me is they're working with Trump and they're saying, you bust it open for us and then we'll control it. So, you don't have to stay here, Trump. We'll keep our warships there and we'll make sure of it. Now, maybe they're not asking Trump, they're going to do it themselves. I don't know. And maybe they're going to charge a toll. So this shows us that Egypt and Turkey have come out of the hate Iran closet, and it's now open that they hate Iran, which is good. They are definitely interested in charging money. Yeah, as if the Saudis need it, right? Egypt wants the money. They're intending to take this plan and present it to the United States and Iran in an attempt to stabilize oil prices and reduce tensions with Pakistan, who they also invited to join. Anybody can join as long as you're a religious fanatic zealot that wants to kill Israel. Now, we got another twist that I don't think is really, it's worth mentioning, but I think it's silly. Pakistan and China released a plan to end the war. The White House reportedly doesn't oppose it. We hit Iran with 10 plagues. This is Israel talking. Israel creating new alliances with important countries in the Middle East. See, we're not supposed to do that, and that's why Netanyahu loves doing it. Trump saying, I don't even think about Iran's enriched uranium. It's so deeply buried. People are saying he wants to send special forces in to get that uranium that's buried somewhere. And Trump's saying, I don't even think about it. I don't think he does. Remember a few days ago, Trump is calling the Straits of Hormuz the Straits of Trump, or Trump Straits, or the Straits of Trump. he may very well take it over. Or he thinks he will. What prophecy is telling us is if we analyze Elam, ELAM, to only be Iran, which is a possibility, but I doubt it, then the Straits of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf has value. But if we also include Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman, the Persian Gulf has next to no bids. It's not got any value. I mean, fishing, maybe, There's nothing really going in and going out. It's not worth controlling it. Listen, if Iran goes down, you can't inhabit it. Trump might be saying, I can't get the oil and they don't want to make a deal with me. I don't want Iran to be a country. So the oil goes. He said he'll blow up the oil fields, the refinery, the storage tanks. I'm sure the pipelines are in there. And that's it. Guys, I got to order some bird food to get it today or I'm going to be in trouble here. So this is going to take a brief period of time. Where are they? In the wrong place. No, I'm not. It shouldn't take much time. Hi, how are you? Good. I've got a problem. I ran out of this bird seed. Could I get a delivery today? Yeah, I forgot the name. You could look up the name. We get it from you. I'll buy some other stuff too to make a big order, but um, I remember the name if you can. I don't. I mean, if you can tell me what you have, I'll recognize it. It's a pretty common one. Rebos. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, she's out. I mean, my wife's she's in trouble. She's getting mad at me and uh, okay. I'll call. Uh-huh. Um, I don't know because the next day you'll come. It'll be Sunday, right? We'll be in a lot of trouble by then. The bird will want to take us to court. All right, I'll have to. I'll call my wife and see. Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye. Guys, I gotta call my wife and tell her this. Hold on. This is a problem for the bird. Of course, at a holiday, they're not coming out this far. Oh, okay. I can't get the bird seed delivered today. I tried. All right, I'm on the air, so as soon as I'm done, I'll come out. Just leave the stuff there, and I'll come get it. I don't know what she's gonna do, but she's upset. She went shopping. All right. We had 8 people hurt by a cluster bomb. I believe it was last night in central Israel. These were Iranian missiles, and I don't know if it was shrapnel but it was minor, so the chances are it was probably just shrapnel. Let me take a look at the live stream and see if we're getting any questions or anything in here. We might hear the iron domes exploding or the siren may just stop. It's not our area. Missile was on the missile was passing the area. So it's good. Good girl. I worry about you. We haven't been yet. I'm now learning that we here to take down something Haifa, not up in Haifa, over towards which is 45-minute car ride on a highway, so it's pretty far. I know we hear missiles in Syria all well. I'm looking to see if we got any questions here. I don't hear any sirens from the neighboring communities. We'll see. Years of living like this now. It's not quite 3 years, but it's 2.5 plus. Am I a blue collar guy? I'm a retired guy. I wasn't when I worked. I was not blue collar. I predominantly had my own businesses for a large portion of my adult life. Once I got older, so the general state of things is Trump bringing in special forces. I'm having people tell me, and I think it's probably true, that there were already special forces in the area, and well, that Trump brought in early on in the war, and they have been running operations the entire month of the war. But what happened is Trump increased the amount. And he also has 82nd Airborne and Recon Marines and amphibious landing ships and stuff like that. So again, it looks like he's probably going to destroy the missile cities with these ground troops. And then he's going to use aircraft to destroy the infrastructure of Iran. And his thinking is probably running along the lines of, I can't leave these idiots there. They'll just start up all over again. And it'll be every 2 or 3 years we'll be coming back and spending $800 billion wiping them out again. It's stupid. And he's just going to end the country. He won't say this, but he's probably saying the protesters don't have what it takes to pick up a gun and start killing their oppressors. They want me to do it for them, and I'm not, you know. So it doesn't look like I have a clear path to the oil, because the only way I can have the oil is to kill all the military of Iran and the whole administration, which is very difficult to do. They'll keep launching missiles. They'll keep fighting without missiles. They got tanks. They got artillery. They got very short-range rockets. They got anti-tank missiles they can carry on their shoulder. It'll be a problem. So what I'll do is I'll knock out the missile cities with special forces. Then I'll take out the pipelines, the oil wells, the refineries, oil storage, the electrical grid throughout the whole country. I'll take out the water desalination, and everybody's going to have to leave. And that's the end of Iran. Now, they might decide to stay in their wells for a while, in their underground facilities, but it's got a limited time frame. They're going to have to use generators. They're going to run out of fuel for their generators. Eventually, they're going to run out of water to drink. They're going to run out of food. So he's just going to wipe them out that way. And he's probably not going to keep the oil. He's just going to knock it down. Now, what does that do for America? Well, it helps America sell oil at higher prices. Mind you, if the prices stay at $100 a barrel, people in the world are still going to buy. People in the world are not going to go into chaos. People in the world are going to adapt to the higher prices they have to pay for everything. Anybody that's not making, $400,000 or $500,000 a year is going to suffer. But when have you known Trump to do anything but kick the poor people in the teeth? I've never seen or heard him do that, do anything for the poor people ever. He just talks about it. Remember, he said, "Oh, we're going to get rid of Obamacare" in his first term, and he never did it. And that's a horrible thing for the people. People pay so much for insurance. It's terrible. Okay? I pay about $350 a year for full insurance in Israel for me and my wife, with no deductible at the hospital, no deductible with family practice doctors. I pay 15% of the drug, of the price of the drug, 15% copay. And now there are a few crazy drugs where I might have to pay more, but generally speaking, I pay 15%. I don't use the system I hardly ever use it. I don't pay for labs. I don't pay for x-rays. I don't pay for sonograms or any of that, MRI, none of that. All that's free. If I go to see a specialist, I have to pay about $10. Maybe it's $11 now, every 3 months. And during that 3 months, he could only, or she can only charge me $11 to see the specialist. So what they normally do is book you in every 3 months. But if you're really ill, they'll see you every couple of weeks, and you'll won't have to pay. We don't pay for emergency room visits. We don't pay for ambulances. Or do we? Do we pay for an ambulance? We might have to pay for an ambulance. I don't know. I think it depends on what happened. I mean, if you're really sick, no. No, then you don't. But if you call an ambulance and there was nothing wrong with you, you were doing hypochondria or something, I think they might tell you you got to pay for it or something. But it always be $25 or something like that, $50. It's not going to be $500 or $800 like America. Now I'm retired, so I get it cheap, but that's all we pay. That's all that we pay. We don't pay for, so people in America pay $700-800 a month, I hear. Some people pay less. Some people pay that much. Depends, I think, geographically where you are. That's a month they pay that much. $700 covers me and my wife's insurance for 2 years. They pay that in a month. Now, does that affect the people that are multimillionaires? No. Does it affect the poor people? Badly. A lot of the wealthy people get insurance. It used to be years ago, like 40, 50 years ago, you could buy really good private insurance from insurance companies, not from an HMO or something like that, like Kaiser or something where you had to go to their hospitals and see their doctors, which was really a pretty decently good system, by the way, in California. But they had a better insurance you could buy, like from different, like Aetna insurance or something like that. And these big companies got rid of that over time. But they used to cover way more stuff, and you could go out and pick your doctor out of private practice and they'd cover it. But you had deductibles, they'd pay 80%, you had 20%, But wealthier people used to like to do that, but that's gone away. That's gone away. So if you go and you don't want to pay that extra 700 or whatever you may, in some places, I think people might have to pay 900 a month or something for that. It's called supplemental insurance, what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I didn't. This is people that have Medicare insurance that are either on disability or they're older. They get it for free, but it doesn't cover very much. It covers stuff. If you're ready to kick the bucket and you go into a hospital and you just have Medicare, they're going to do something for you. But they might do open heart surgery on you on Monday and discharge you on Wednesday. Well, that would be silly. They would kill you. They might just, they'll be in a hurry to get you out of there. When you get out of the open heart surgery, exercise is walking 25 feet and back, and then you go and you lay down. I mean, it's very, very tough surgery. But okay, anyway, they do stuff like that, and Trump never lifted that off the people like he said he would. Remember, Trump said he was going to audit the Fort Knox with Elon Musk, right? And they never did it. You think they never did it? I don't. I think they know what's there and they don't want to tell you. So nobody talks about it anymore. Remember, you were going to get a $2,000 stipend, and then Trump said, oh, we're going to push it off into 2026. I think he was talking the spring or something like that. You ever hear anything about that? Nope, you ain't getting it. This $2,000 to a family in America, to tremendous millions and millions and millions of people, would help them tremendously. Yet, for Trump's friend, it's the price of a bottle of wine at dinner. If you take people and you give them a 2,000 bottle of wine and you give them a $18 bottle of wine, do you think most people would be able to tell the difference? Probably not. Even the so-called wine connoisseurs would, these winos, they're winos, these wine connoisseurs. You think they're not winos, you're wrong. They're winos, they're alcoholics. They color it by being a gourmet wine drinker. Oh, we got this vintage and this and this. And they make it look like they're something other than what they are. You have 2 or 3 glasses of wine, you're bonkers. You're like drinking cheap scotch. It's the same amount of alcohol. So they disguise it. They go to restaurants up in Sonoma County. They got a lot of restaurants up there. The thing is, people drive up from the San Francisco Bay Area, which is 7 million people. Okay. It's Marin County, Alameda County, which is like Oakland, Berkeley, and then the San Francisco area, and then down a little bit down the peninsula where the airport is. And you get all these people together, and it's about 7 million people. And they'll drive up to Sonoma, which could be for, an hour, hour and a half, depending where you're coming from, I guess. And depending how far up you go, they're going to go to Napa or who knows where. And they'll go, they got these very high end, I don't know what you call them, bed and breakfast. And guys that are probably wine alcoholics themselves open it up, and they'll have maybe 10 rooms, and it's done very, very, very well. These are beautiful bed and breakfasts, okay? Gorgeous furniture. Everything is really nice. They'll have jacuzzis, they'll have a swimming pool. You could sit outside. All the stuff in the cold weather. They'll be inside with a fireplace, and these are high end, small niche places, and people go there. And the guy has a tremendous wine selection, and his wines probably start at $80 and go up to $5,000 or something. Okay, and most of them are running 200 to $600 or $800 a bottle. Okay, and people will go there. They'll stay in his bed and breakfast. They'll get up in the morning. If they're inclined to eat a breakfast, they'll have a very fine breakfast. Eggs Florentine, eggs Benedict, or some fish and caviar with eggs, or whatever the people want. A lot of these people will then go jogging. They'll put their running gear on first, maybe, and have coffee. He'll have gourmet coffee, go for a jog, 2, 3, 4 miles, whatever, then come back, take a shower, go in the jacuzzi, have a breakfast. Then they'll go travel around the community. Where are they most likely going to go? To the vineyards. And in the vineyards, they have tasting rooms. But they have to be very careful because they could get drunk and wind up in jail. So if they're tasting, they got to have about, a teaspoon or a tablespoon. And they might even spit it out. Okay? Or they'll wind up getting nailed for being drunk. or they might buy without even tasting it, just from reading reviews online and stuff like that. So they'll go around and collect wine, and they'll get um, gourmet food things that you can take home with you. Like not food for a meal, like specialty items. Um, they also, it's beautiful up there. They might do other things while they're there too. Okay. But a lot of them are wine alcoholics, and then they'll during for lunch they probably won't eat at their hotel or their bed and breakfast. They'll go eat someplace else, a light lunch, and taste wine. They got to be careful in California; they'll get picked up, and they'll spend a day or two in jail with something, and they got to watch it. Uh, Now, I suppose the really wealthy ones go up there and hire a limo, and then they could ride around and get drunk all they want. You don't have to hire a limo. You could hire a Lincoln Town Car with a driver, and you got pretty much the same effect. Actually, you don't have people looking at you like you will with a limo, so it's even better. And then for the evening, they'll go back to their hotel, and the guy's got a gourmet chef, so they're going to have a meal. Like for two of them, it'll probably be $300 to $500 for the food, and they'll, the room is probably going to be 500, 600, 800 a day, um, and maybe more. And they'll have a great meal in the bed and breakfast. The guy might book the room with them, including the dinner price and the breakfast price. That could be included. So he might bang them at 1,200 or 1,000 a night, and they get the meal. And at the meal, they're going to drink. They're home. They don't. Why is this such a big thing with them? Well, they're home. They don't have to go home. They don't have to drive from another restaurant to get to their hotel room. They're in their hotel. All they got to do is walk, 400 or 500 feet or up a flight of steps or something like that, and they get home. They get to the hotel room and they can collapse on the bed or whatever. So they'll generally have 2 bottles of wine with the meal, and they didn't go up there to drink $80 wine. They're probably going up there and drinking $200, $300, $400 bottles of wine, and they're sitting there and fooling themselves about how delicious it is, and they're just alcoholics. If I was going to go up there and taste the wine, which I wouldn't even care to do, I would have a teaspoon of it and spit it out. Well, that tasted pretty good, but I don't like having alcohol in my system. So, these are alcoholics. These are rich alcoholics, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, and they hide behind wine. Now, you have another caliber of these people. They're called microbreweries for beer. They are alcoholics, and they hide behind beer. They go to restaurants that have microbrewery brews, and they have the stuff on tap and all that, and they got to be careful. They don't go to jail for drunk driving. And they go in there and they have steins of beer, but there's a limit. You're not going to have 5 steins of beer. I don't know, maybe they do. I don't know what they do. Generally that's poorer people, because great microbrewery beer for a glass or a stein or a Pilsen glass or something, what are they going to charge you? Maybe $10, $12. They're not going to charge you $200. So it's for lower income people that do that. Now you get into Scotch. There are people that chase gourmet Scotch. I think the oldest you can really get Scotch before it deteriorates is about 30, 35 years. But that's pretty rare. Usually it's 20, 25-year-old Scotch, the rarest stuff you can get. and that's done from, I guess you would call it, microbreweries. I guess what else would you call it? And they got this too. This is another cult, and they sit there and gorge themselves with this scotch, impressing themselves at how good it is with the taste and the flavor. It's rot gut. I don't care if you spend $5,000 a bottle on a scotch. It's going to go down like flaming kerosene. It's going to burn your innards as it goes down. And it's junk. I mean, it's no good for you. And they will go around and drink this stuff, and they go to places where they don't buy a bottle, they get a shot. So they have very expensive, fine scotches where the bottles can cost thousands of dollars. And they'll buy a shot, and a lot of their shots might be $100 for a little shot glass full of it, or $200 or 300. And they do that, and they drink that instead. They generally don't care about gourmet food, and they generally don't associate this with a hotel. It's the wine, you know. Um, they have, people have clubs where they go once a week or every other week. Somebody stages it. They call it wine and cheese tasting, and you pay a flat fee and you go in, and they'll have, 15 or 20 really good cheeses there. Now, that I could really get behind. Going there and eating the cheese, the heck with the wine. I'd rather have tomato juice, but the cheese would be really cool. I'd really like that. You can go to Jerusalem and they have cheese shops where they'll have in excess of 100 types of cheese. I mean, 150 maybe, 200 at the Jerusalem Shuk, the outdoor mall, which is really sort of indoor outdoor. And they'll give you a taste. Yeah. They'll slice off a little bit and let you taste the stuff. Yeah, they're pretty nice about that. And these are cheeses you don't see in Safeway. These are very rare cheeses now. But that part, I'm all for it. Hey, let's go. Or if you want to have a pizza tasting place, right? Let's say where you have somebody runs it and they got 10 different kinds of pizza, and you could taste the pizza by the slice. Let's say they use small slices so you can taste lots of them. Oh, I'd go for that too. A juice tasting place, yeah, I'd go for it. Fruit, yeah, I mean, all that, but they don't usually do that. So the cheese does go, but they generally do it with the wine. So when you go to these bed and breakfasts in Sonoma County, which is world renowned because you're right out there in the, um, where they grow the grapes. And, they, what the guy really gets you for is the high end everything he's selling you. But then he has a wine store in his bed and breakfast, and he'll sell you, wine for hundreds of dollars a bottle to take with you. And people do that. So because it's so expensive and they think it's so tasty. I really don't. I think if you took these guys and they were completely sober, okay, and you took some, $800-900 wines, and you took some wines that were kind of obscure, maybe $30-40 or something like that, but obscure, so he wouldn't know it, and you gave it to him, he wouldn't know which is which. I don't think so. The same people get off into the cigar thing where they'll buy cigars for a few $100. A cigar, I think you can get up to 3, 4, 500 on cigars. You know, Castro had a special cigar. He's dead, but he made a lot of them, and he used to send boxes of them to his friends and this and that, and they wound up in circulation over the years. But I would say they're 500 a cigar, which is stupid. But to see good cigars for $100 or $200 is very common. So people will join cigar clubs, like in Beverly Hills or something, where you go there and it's a private club, so they could do the smoking out there. So they have lockers, little lockers where you can keep maybe 2 boxes of cigars, and you lock them up. So they give you a locker, and then you buy cigars, which they want you to buy from them. And they have very fantastic cigars, and you buy the box, which is usually going to be no more than 25 cigars. And you put it inside your locker, and then they have an area where they have sofas and lounge chairs and all kinds of seating, and they'll probably have televisions with sporting events, and which might not have the sound on, or I don't know. And you can buy scotch and liquor from them, or wine, or Evian water, and sit down there and smoke your cigar inside their lounge, where you're probably going to be there for about 45 minutes to an hour, because these are generally big, thick cigars. And you're going to burn, it's like taking a $100 bill, or 2 or 3 of them, and putting a lighter on them and burning them up. And they sit there and talk to each other, smell each other's smoke. They must stink like an ashtray when they walk out of there, because you're probably going to have 5 or 6 bozos running around smoking cigars at the same time. They usually put air filters in there, several. Okay, these things look like they're kind of air conditioners or something. They put them in the wall, and um, they take the smoke out and they clean the air. But in a place like that, they'd probably have 4 or 5 of them running at the same time. They're very quiet. I've been in places like this on cruise ships. I've walked in to see what goes on in there, and they got the air um, so ventilated or clean that you don't really know you're in a cigar lounge in there. And uh, so this is what they do. And they probably do that because they don't want to ruin a room in their house, you know. And then the room where they have the lockers is built to be a humidor, so it stays low humidity at a certain temperature, probably about 70 degrees, I guess, and kind of low humidity, but not too low because it dries it out. So they probably have a $20,000-$30,000 humidor machine running in that room, so they could preserve their cigars there. But there's a whole lot of other people that just make a room in their house, the cigar room, and they smoke their cigars there, or they go outside in their yard and smoke it, or both. So but the wine thing is millions of people, and to me, it's rather humorous because they're alcoholics that won't admit it and deny it and cover it up, and just like getting drunk every day with their wine. And the real hardcore alcoholics, when I was a young guy right out of MBA school, and I was running a company, there were guys that used to call on me from other companies that we did business with, sales managers usually, because we were a big client to them. And they would come in and they would want to go to lunch with me. And, I was more than happy to go to lunch with them. The more expensive the restaurant, the better it was, in my opinion. Did I drink? Yeah, coffee. I liked my coffee. I'd even have 2 cups at lunch. And they would they go into the restaurant and they call the waitress. They know how to work waitresses, and the waitresses see them. They got a nice expensive suit on, a gold watch. They reek of money, and not a lot of money, but the waitress knows. Okay, I'm going to get a good tip. So he calls, "Hey, hun, come here. Can you bring me, a martini?" Or sometimes they would order 2 martinis, or whatever they're drinking. And she knew, oh, I got an alcoholic. I'll take care of him. I'll get a good tip. Yeah, she'd say, sure. And that would be before the menus came. He would ask for it, right? And there's multiples that do this. It's not just one. And then that would happen, and the booze would come, and then he'd have the booze, and that's all the guy would have was two drinks, and he'd eat some lunch, not usually not in the clean plate club, but they'd eat. And they'd have a cup or two of coffee. We had that in common. We liked the coffee. They didn't enjoy that I didn't drink. Tough. I used to go home from work in those days and lift weights after I used to get off at 4:30. We closed the plant, the distribution center at 4:30, and I'd be home pumping my weights by 5. And then by 7 I'd be in the restaurant eating dinner. I was single. I went out to eat all the time. So I didn't bother with I had no time in my life for alcohol. Also, if you drink alcohol and you lift weights, you feel it in your muscles. I don't care what people say. You feel it because I've had it happen. I've done beers or something, and you notice it. There's a time and a place where you could have, like on a warm summer day. Um, I used to go out on the cruise ships years ago, and I'd be sitting outside in the jacuzzi, and it's warm. It's 90 degrees or something, and you usually have a canopy over the jacuzzi, so you're not in the sun. They don't want people heating up in the jacuzzi and getting baked by the sun, so you don't have the sun bearing down on you, and that helps a lot. And then I used to order ale, ALE, and I'd get a can of that. And when you're outside in the heat and you're sweating, you really hardly feel it. But then I'd go in the gym and work out, and you feel, you just it's not any good.
Hey, Ken,
What's up?
we've had 11 impacts since 6 o'clock this morning.
Wow, we had 11 impacts. That means missiles landing since 11 o'clock this morning. So we're missing. No, it can't be since 11. It's not even 11. You mean 11 o'clock at night? I don't think she heard me. I know we've been active. I've been hearing distant explosions. I don't know what's going to be. We got to get rid of this the Hezbollah, and it's not working. Netanyahu's master plan is we're going to occupy 25 to 27 miles deep. Nobody sits there and says, "Hey, Benji Netanyahu, let me ask you a question. Since they're able to send missiles 100 and more miles into Israel, what good is it going to do blocking 25 miles? They're still going to be able to reach into Israel." See, why doesn't anybody ask him that and see what the jerk says? He's a jerk. The media in Israel and America and Europe is not very good. I mean, don't you think that would be a good question to ask this idiot? what's the greatness about doing this? You're going to just knock out their cheap missiles. You're not going to knock out the other stuff. Are we not trying? Oh, we're trying in Lebanon. My gosh, are we trying? But it's the same idiots. They dig into the ground. You know, this is the problem. Netanyahu doesn't prosecute the wars to completion. I think he doesn't want to. He wants them to rise up again another day. That's what I think. Okay. Hamas is still alive. Look at the massacre they caused in Israel, and there's still 20,000 of them hanging around in Gaza. And what's happening to them? Nothing. Is Trump prosecuting them like he said he would? No, nothing. Nothing's happening to them. They know this. Okay. So is Netanyahu leaving them around to kill Jews again another day? Well, it sure looks like it. You tell me what it is. Okay. Fact, there's a good 20,000 Hamas still alive living in a certain area of Gaza. Now tell me it doesn't look like Netanyahu's leaving them alive to kill us again another day. Same thing in Hezbollah. We wiped out a lot of them and he didn't finish killing them. You see, what Netanyahu has done to the people is he's convinced them that blowing up the real estate is effective. It's not. And doing targeted assassinations is effective. It's not. What is effective, and has been proven throughout many, many centuries, is killing the enemy soldiers. That's what war is. He doesn't do that. Just focus only on killing enemy soldiers, nothing else. And he's got Trump befoodled into doing the same thing. So you destroy the real estate and you don't destroy the soldiers, and then the fighting stops and they pop up and they rebuild again and go to kill you again and again and again and again since 1948. So all the leaders of Israel had the same era. God tells us he's for us, yet they don't believe the Bible. So this is the problem. Living in a country with people that don't believe the Bible is a very dangerous idea, by the way. Isaiah 34:8, I think it says. Oh, it's not 34:8. No, I know where it is, but we could read this since I'm here. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. That's a 24-hour day, I believe. And the year, it's not a year, it's a prophetic period of time, of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. No. Okay, where does God tell us he's for us? In Jeremiah 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah, to Yasha, to salvation, the root of Yeshua's name, or it actually could say Yeshua, to Yasha or Yeshua you, to salvation you, to give you salvation. Yeshua is the source of salvation, or giver of salvation, or however you want to understand it. It's pretty much the same thing. To salvation thee, though I make a full end of all the nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So it appears to me that what we're going through now is also some form of punishment, as well as it is on the nations, it's also on us. Now, I don't know how much damage will get done in Israel. I don't know. Will the military get destroyed in Israel? It's a possibility that I think about. I don't talk about it, but it's possible. Yeah, because the people are relying on that. This doesn't end until the people start turning to God. When enough of them will turn to God, I think it ends. Not all of them. All of them will be when he appears in the clouds. But before that happens, there's many believers in Jerusalem. We read that in Zechariah 12 in the early verses. But then we also see this again in Jeremiah 46, verse 28, the last verse. So I don't want you to think this is just one verse that, you're going to ignore. Fear thou not, O Jacob, that's the 12 tribes. But he's the father of the 12 kids. The tribes were named after. So it's Jacob is the 12 tribes. My servant, saith Jehovah, for I am with thee, for I will make a full end of all the nations whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure, yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. So I'm thinking it could be that we're still getting punished. I don't know. We're not getting wiped out. The nations are suffering tremendously. Hold on, I got a letter from somebody. Let me read this in email. Oh, it's some guy trying to have me run a commercial on a channel or something like that, which is making merchandise out of God's people. I can't do that. So, yeah, the nations get it. Okay. Now, we're talking about the Arab League turning against us. We're talking about Europe and the 30 nations that don't want to get involved with Trump. And, we need to take a little bit of a look here at Zechariah 12 and see if we got room in there for the siege to be not just the nations that are on our border. So verse 1 is the burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel, saith the Lord, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth. I want to put my sunglasses on for a second. It's easier on my eyes. Okay. They're polarized, it helps. I don't have great vision, so which stretch forth the heavens and layeth the foundation of the earth and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about when they shall be in the siege. So let's break this down. A cup of trembling, they're going to be shaking. Okay. It's like an alcoholic coming off alcohol shaking. That's the cup. But it's not alcohol. They're going to be so scared. Unto all the people round about that's surrounding us when they shall be in the siege. So it's the people surrounding us that are in the siege. A siege is a surrounding where you cut off people going in and out, goods coming in and out, and so forth. It's not exactly an invasion, but you could attack from your siege positions, but it's not an invasion. Round about when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. That's the land we have now. And in that day, that would be the day of vengeance, I believe, will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though, okay, cut in pieces is, like with a sword cuts you in pieces, you are deceased, dead, cut off, cut in pieces, dead. So the ones that are messing with Jerusalem are going to get dead. Though all the people, and the word for people is people, and the word for all is 3805 call, and it means all, A-L-L, not the old laundry detergent for some of you older people like me. It's all, like I'm all in, right? Okay. All the people of Haaretz, the land, and that could be the earth or the land of Israel, gathered together against it. It could be the earth, or I don't know, or it could be the land of Israel. It's hard to say. And it could mean that when it says the land of Israel, it could be thinking of greater Israel, but since greater Israel is not yet happening, it probably means the earth. In that day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse that's Zeus. And then we talked about him not smiting the tanks and the jeeps, it's horses, and we see the fuel crisis. So maybe that's why everybody's on horses. Maybe we got to watch. Looks good though, as a theory, with astonishment. And his rider with madness. And I will open the horses with astonishment. So the horse is stunned. He's shocked by something. And the guy on the horse is going to go mad, Now that could be the appearing. That could be the appearing in the clouds, because it's going to be real bright like lightning. And I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah. So that's a very good thing. Because if he opens his eyes, it means he's turned his face towards us, right? And will smite every horse of the people with blindness. Now, some people will say, well, that's really the tanks and their computers are going to get fried by some sort of an attack. And, no, come on. It's blindness, horses. So it could be the fuel shortage. And the governors of Judah, the judges, it's not really, governor's not a good word, judges of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, it's the inhabitants of Jerusalem's strength is in the Lord of hosts, their God. So they're believers in Jerusalem. Okay. If you're doing the Talmud and you're calling Yeshua a bastard and he's not the Son of God and so forth, I don't think you're really getting your strength is not coming from your faith in the Lord. So I think these are true believers, okay, for it to mean that. Now let's go to verse 6. In that day will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall burn up all the people round about on the right hand and on the left, and Jerusalem shall it's inhabited again, remaining still in her own place. They're trying to make you think this is a Schofield thing, and it's not. They mistranslated. Jehovah also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. Now, the tents, does that mean that all of Israel has been destroyed? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's check on that word tents. I think it's a figure of speech, but let's look. It's 169. Oh, hell. OHEL. Oh, come on. Stupid iPad. Let's get back in there. Let's see how Strong's flips it into English. It doesn't have to be a tent. It's a covering. It could be a dwelling, a place like the wilderness. It could mean temporary house in the wilderness, a home, a tabernacle. It can mean different things. Okay, so it's sort of inconclusive. Could it mean that we've been demolished? It doesn't tell us that in the passage, so I'd be slow to go there, real slow. First, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. See, he's for us. They just didn't call on him yet, you know. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them in that day shall be as David. Now, something's different because David killed Goliath and a bear and a lion. So the feeble, old, weak people are now ferocious fighters. And the house of David shall be as Elohim, as the angel of the Lord before them. That's the glory of God of Israel. And he killed 140,000 in one day. So this is a sign of the everlasting life has come. Verse 9, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. Now, all the nations that come against Jerusalem in verse 9. So let's go up back to the top. I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about when they shall be in the siege against Judah and against Jerusalem. In that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all for all that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. And it shall come to pass in that day, I'm in verse 9, that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. Oh, and now let us go to Jeremiah 30, verse 11. For I am with thee, saith Jehovah. Well, now they know that, to salvation you, though I make a full end of all the nations whither I have scattered thee. Good fit. Now we get into Zechariah 12. Go back to 12, we're in verse 10, I think. Yeah. We're up to 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So when he pours his spirit on the people, they're believers, no? Of course. So he poured the spirit of grace. So instead of trying to do Moses' law, they'll walk in grace that Yeshua gave them, right? By his righteousness that he transferred or gave to us. And supplications would be prayer. Okay? The arrogance is gone. And shall look upon me whom they have pierced. Well, that's Yeshua. They pierced him with a spear in his side, and the water and blood came out. And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. And in that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem. And it goes on, it describes all the families in Israel at the time of mourning Yeshua, because they know their ancestors killed them. Now, when you read some jackass that tells you, oh, this already happened. Yeah, I mean, let's see, who was mourning Yeshua? Maybe Apostle John, maybe his mother Miriam, maybe his brothers, all of Jerusalem married him. There was mourned him. There was a big mourning. Of course not. It's unfulfilled. So, there you go. And then you go on into 13, and you get a continuation of it. Let me make this iPad advance. Verse 1 goes, in that day there shall be a fountain opened to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of hosts, that I shall cut off the names of the idols out of I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirit to pass out of the land. So he's getting rid of them. No unclean spirits in Israel. We don't know how good that'll be. Let's take a look at the live stream and see if I have any questions or. All right, I don't know why the sound's not going on. Could be me. It was me. I just want to check for questions real quick here. Okay. All right, I'm going to do some spiritual warfare. For us, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, I bind all the unclean spirits from engaging in any activities designed to make life difficult in any way, shape, or form for any of the true believers or their households. All the unclean spirits are bound from doing anything like this for the next 10 years continuously. Now, if any person that serves the unclean spirits tries to do something like this, what will happen? What I ask to happen would be that all the unclean spirits depart from these people, every member of their household, and every person that works in the same company or firm or business as them. And no unclean spirit would go into any of these people again for the next 10 years continuously, nor would they appear to these people or guide them, lead them, help them, assist them in any way, shape, or form for the next 10 years continuously, beginning now. Now, if you don't see fit to keep the unclean spirits out of these people for the next 10 years and unclean spirits go back in them, I would ask you that the unclean spirits do nothing at all to benefit these people or help them or guide them, lead them, direct them in any way, shape, or form. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. And I loose off of all the true believers and their households and families and everything they own, possess, or control any witchcraft or sorcery now, and it'll never return again, and it's worthless now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I submit that to you, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, and you guys can agree with that too. That should help us more. And I pray, my Heavenly Father, for all the true believers and their households, and me and my wife. And I pray that we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance. We'd have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us. And us and all our animals and pets would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray we have adequate finances and then some extra. And I pray that if we need to find a job, we find a good job easily. And if we need clients or customers for our business, we find that as well. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we all understand the scriptures better. I pray I can do better videos. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. So thanks to your prayers, my packages are moving along. They're coming in, and that's a good thing. But I appreciate that. You can pray again. We're still waiting for one with some supplements that my wife really needs. So if you could pray for that to come in quickly, it would be appreciated. Thank you. Let's do a prayer for Israel. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray that you loose the ability of Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iranian-backed militias, and Iran to conduct any warfare against Israel. You just make that impossible to happen anymore. And I pray for this now, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with this too if you're a believer. Okay? So I'm seeing a lot of prophecy getting fulfilled at the same time now, which I never saw before, but it's coming slowly. But it is starting. I'm seeing the daughter of Babylon get it. I'm seeing why they're riding horses. I'm seeing Elam get it. I'm seeing Edom, which is Yemen, start to get it. I'm seeing many, many things happen. I'm seeing Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman going down as part of Elam. These are countries that are not named in the Bible like the names they have today, so they would fall in the territory of Iraq or in Elam back then. And they look like they're going down. And we're not at Jeremiah 30, verse 11 yet, but I think it's coming real soon. And then the daughter of Babylon's going to get it, which isn't going to take a long time. That is the best thing we could watch for, because that'll tell us when, roughly, not the day or the hour, but it'll give us a rough idea of when the appearing in the clouds is going to happen. Not a day or the hour, but it'll give us a good indicator. And I don't think we're that far off. America's in the snare. Jeremiah 50, verse 24, and that would mean to me that all right. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Reminder that the offerings again dropped off. I don't know why. When I talk about the war, but I'm also talking prophecy too, quite a bit. That I don't know, and keep the prayers going for Israel. I tell you, it's really wearing the people down. The people in the military are worn down. They are, which is heavily a reservist military. It's rough. It's, yeah, you could, I'm not that concerned about getting blown up. I don't believe that'll happen. But, everything gets more and more difficult. Everything gets more difficult, Israel is very good at adapting, so it's minimal here. But when it happens to other countries, you're going to see how they fall apart. We're different. We all have bomb shelters. They don't. We all have great defense systems all over Israel. They don't have that in their countries. It's going to be way different. Much worse. All right, guys. I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. I hope you got something out of this. And I'm out.